San Diego CityBeat editor David Rolland, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, so tomorrow is your last day in the office at the CityBeat office down there. You were taking on a new job as a communication specialist for Assembly Speaker Toni Atkins, I understand.
Yes, very excited about that.
So why did you decide to leave journalism after all these years?
Well, I think it's been happening sort of gradually, that decision. I trace it back, when I think about it, I trace it back to a visit to Washington, D.C. that I made in 2008 when I went to hang out with Bob Filner, of all people, when he was a member of Congress. And I just got so sort of inspired by, the idea of making public policy. Even though things are so dysfunctional in Washington, I was able to see sort of through all that and just kind of get excited about, being sort of on the other side and helping shape policy rather than doing what I've been doing, which is having, a big indirect impact on public policy in San Diego through editorials and that sort of thing. I wanted to have more of a direct impact and get involved.
You came to San Diego from Ventura to launch CityBeat back in 2012. What was your
2002?
2002, exactly. Forgive me. I remember picking up that very first one. What was your editorial vision back then, and do you feel like you achieved it?
Yeah, the idea was that there wasn't much in the way of progressive media in San Diego back in those days. It was dominated by the Union Tribune and the San Diego Reader, and KPBS and the television stations, but nobody was really doing, strong progressive opinion, and that was one of the biggest priorities, is to sort of inject progressive ideas into the political conversation on a week-to-week basis. Plus also cover emerging visual art and emerging music and that sort of thing. We thought there were niches there to be filled, and to just do more investigative reporting than was being done.
Well, you certainly took that progressive line in editorializing in the editorial department there. What stories would you say had the most influence or impact? Is there one that stands out here in San Diego?
Yeah, I would say something we've been doing recently, which is our series on the large number of deaths that happen in San Diego County jails. Dave Moss, our former investigative reporter, who continued to do some of this work after he left our office, and Kelly Davis, my associate editor. They worked together on a series of stories a couple of years ago, and their work is continuing still to this day on not only exposing the number of deaths that happen in local jails, but also really describing the circumstances behind the individual people who have died behind bars. So that's probably, right now, I would say that's probably the #1 achievement.
We definitely talked several times about that story, which was really quite profound. Any editorial regrets? Something you did that you thought, wouldn't do it again?
No.
Yeah.
Honestly,
okay.
not. Honestly,
That's a
not.
good thing
No,
to say.
we just sort of pride ourselves in letting it all hang out and throwing it out there. And if I racked my brain, I could probably think of things that maybe I was wrong about, or I would write differently. But I wouldn't call them regrets.
Okay.
Things evolve, and you change your mind. But no regrets.
Sure. Good place to be. Now, when people heard that you and, as you mentioned, associate editor Kelly Davis were leaving, some questioned the future of CityBeat. It's still there. It's still being published. Do you think that alternative weeklies like CityBeat are still viable?
Yes, absolutely they are. In fact, they have weathered the economic storm better than daily papers across the country. Daily papers have been hit the hardest. I'm not saying that weeklies haven't been hit hard. The recession hit both the Reader and CityBeat pretty hard. Hit the Reader a lot harder than it hit us, because they were so big and they had so much to lose.
Why do you think weeklies over papers?
I think that they're just so I'm not an economist. I'm not a newspaper economist, so I don't know. But I just know that alternative weeklies and magazine they have a niche, and people are always going to want to pick up that weekly paper while they're sitting at Starbucks or a cafe, or going to the record stores, which really still do exist.
People still do both.
They like to pick those things up physical and have them in their hand and read it while they're having a cup of coffee.
All right, CityBeat editor David Rolland, thank you very much and good luck on your new position.
Thanks very much.